Welcome to Here's the Story, a show that brings student affairs to life by sharing the authentic voices and lived experiences of those who are shaping the field every day. I get to be Helena Gardner today, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I have been working in student housing about 26 years. I live my life as a mom, a sister, a daughter, a friend, and a mentor. Before we get started today, I can already tell you I'm in my feels. So let me just let you know that before we get started, I'm going to do a shout out to our sponsor, and then I got a good story for you all today. So let me tell you a little bit about Evolve. Evolve is a series of leadership coaching journeys designed to bring clarity, capacity, and confidence, empowering courageous leadership to reimagine the future of higher education. Y'all better check Evolve out. On that note, though, listen here. Listen here. I am so excited to introduce to folks today a wonderful story. I know it's wonderful, and I know it's going to be wonderful because I casually follow our guest today on the socials and watch all the magic and how she moves in the world and all the people and all the favor. And so I feel honored and blessed to be sharing space and get this wisdom. So if you have not met my friend Crystal, I want to allow Crystal to introduce herself to everyone watching today.
Thank you so much. And I loved your intro. It was beautiful. My name is Dr. Crystal Lay. I'm the Senior Director at CSU Monterey Bay. I am a mom of three wonderful humans. I'm a published author, podcast host, and just out here trying to do some good stuff, as best as I can each day.
Thank you. Thank you. So, our viewers and listeners didn't get the tea that you just gave me a bit ago. But friends, I just know that Crystal is about to enlighten us. If nobody else needs to hear this today, I am sure it is me. And so I invite you all to be in community with my lessons and blessings today. And I'm turning it over to you, Crystal. Tell us a little thing or two.
Thank you. So I'm excited to be here. And what I want to talk about is this idea of why have I stayed in residence life and housing? I was connecting with a team member and they asked me this question, and it really put me in this headspace of really trying to evaluate 25 years, y'all, of being in this field. Now, I say 25 years because I'm going to count my 2 years as an RA. I'm going to count my 2 years as a graduate assistant because from the time you enter this space, you are exposed to situation, people, things that are not typical, right? Given the frequency. And so those years, they count and they matter because I think, again, of the intensity and frequency of the things that we encounter. It's not just pizza parties and door decks, right? We know that in this work. We're literally overseeing small towns and the complexities of what happens in the lives of these young folks who are living with us on our campuses across the globe. And so, this idea of why I have stayed, I want to frame it in the context of why I have stayed in a field that sometimes has given me signals that maybe I shouldn't be here. And that's really tough. I think, I've had some instances where they're like core memories of moments that I try not to go back to too often because they're painful or they make me forget my worth and value, my humanity. But I'll share some of them with y'all today. I remember my first directorship years ago. I was very excited. And I had my meeting with my supervisor, and I was like, yes, I was like, what are your expectations of me? And the person said back to me, we don't do expectations at this level. And in that moment, I felt several things all at once: incompetent, unsure. Was I ready? What did I do wrong? What led me to believe that there would be expectations as a director? And so that was a moment of questioning my readiness very early in my career. Another moment that stood out to me was having a supervisor say to me, I am tired of feeling like you're trying to do my job. My philosophy has always been, how do I keep things off my supervisor's desk? How do I make them look good? How can I move our organization forward? And so to have this moment that felt like I was seen as more of a threat than an asset, made me think about, should I speak up? Should I help? What's my lane? There was a lot of confusion attached to that. I worked at an institution where there was a policy where you couldn't have any children in the office space. And I remember one of my kiddos was sick, had a fever, but I also didn't have sick leave and I couldn't go home. Fascinating experience. And I say that because I remember sneaking my kiddo into my office and hiding them on a blanket behind my desk because they couldn't go to school and I could not be at work. And I share these moments because my identity as mom, as supervisee, as someone who wants to help, made me think about, am I doing the right work? Coming up for me, going to college was something that was a dream. It was something that I heard of. It was talked about. I went to a college preparatory high school, but my family didn't have the money. I'm from the west side of Chicago. If you look on the news, you're like, I'm from the hood. And I remember sitting in spaces where people felt more academic than me. And I had a thesaurus that I would put under the table or I would write down words to figure out what they meant. And so continuously throughout my career, being in spaces where I didn't know if I belonged, either through messages shared with me, my own imposter syndrome that I was dealing with, but again, still holding on to, I just want to help, was always interesting headspace for me of how do I show up? How am I enough? Do I ask the right questions? Who's here to help me when I just want to help? Was always fascinating. So, as I'm thinking about how I wanted to respond to my team member as to why I stayed, and I have these core memories, these things that made me think about my worth and value, I leaned into the fact that I see possibility in our students, in our staff, in every new year. I hold on to possibility. I see opportunity. I have this undying hope for who we can be and what we can be because I believe in people. I believe that there are good people who want to do good work. And how do we take care of them so they stay good, right? How do we reduce these moments of uncertainty or confusion, these moments of telling folks literally or figuratively that they don't belong or we don't ask for these things or that's not appropriate. The other thing I realized throughout my journey is maybe I just don't know how to leave.
Wow.
Oh, maybe I don't know how to leave this work. There's documents on transferable skills, right? You go to the training
Yeah.
sessions, you go to the presentations, but maybe I don't know what I'm capable of or what I can do next because there's been enough of you don't belong that makes me doubt myself from time to time. So that was a part of it as I questioned why I have stayed. Now, the positive sides, in addition to that possibility and that hope, is also the network and the friends I have made. I have made friends in the field that would get on a plane, hop in a car, drop anything for me and my kiddos. And that has been beautiful. I have mentees, I have mentors. I've been able to do some side gigs that have
Yeah.
been an offshoot of the people I have met, podcasting, publishing, presenting. I've lived all over the country, things that this little Black girl from the hood never thought would have been possible. I studied abroad because there were enough people who did believe in me and were willing to say, you do belong. And so for me, I think the most important piece about staying is the journey that you're forced to take in your own identity and who you are, in myself being a mom and thinking about, am I doing the right thing for my family? Am I caring for them? My desire to expose them to higher education, was that enough to endure all the things that I have experienced in the work? I think in housing and residence life, the work that we're called to do, we are exposed not just to trauma and other people's stuff, but our own stuff, right? I was like, my family, my boundaries, money, how I manage my money, what I can and cannot afford, the dependency on a meal plan, or there was a time when I didn't make enough at a particular job and I did take toilet paper from the community bathroom from my apartment, right? The trauma and whether or not I'm able to find counseling to talk about that thing that happened with that student that I can't get out of my mind. And so, why have I stayed in something that feels so hard? Now, this team member is a young person. They're 3 years postmasters. So I have to say something inspirational, right? I have
Yeah.
to lift them up. I have to believe that our work is worth it. And it has been worth me staying for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
So I lean into how can I be a part of moving us forward? How can I see each person's humanity? How do I protect myself so I can keep doing the work? How do I think about the places I want to lead so people feel like they want to be a part of something? How am I clear with my no's, my yeses, and my not right nows
Yeah.
so people know where we're headed? I don't want to be the person that makes someone feel less than or they're not worthy. I don't want to recreate trauma or experiences I've had. And so my answer back of why I've stayed is the network, the community, the learning, and the opportunity to ask different and better questions to figure out who we are now and who we want to be. It's been the opportunity to create spaces where people could speak up and be open. And I could shield them, but also invite them in to say, who do you want to be with us? And who do we need to be with you? And so finding those places again to try to dismantle and make people feel hope and possibility, but also giving them permission to leave if that didn't make sense for them. Um, and so I think this idea of why I've stayed in this work is also the smiles, looking at people's life journey, the text messages you get from that supervisee 6 years later just to check in, have been so powerful to me. I think that um, I want to share two dreams that I think talk about other things that inform my work and why I've stayed. The one dream is reoccurring, and it's a dream where there's this house, and it's always on the same street. And I want to move my family into the house. But I'm always told you have to wait until the current occupants leave. There's no time for them to leave. But one day, my supervisor says, okay, they're out. They're still living there, but they're out. You can come visit this house. We go into the house, Helena, and in the house, it's disorganized. Nothing makes sense. There's a stair going here, there's rooms that are oddly shaped. It's just strange. But I've had this obsession with this house and wanting to be there.
Wow.
And for me, I think about the positions I've had. I've been so excited. And then there's gatekeeping. Things don't make sense. There's confusion. And when I name those things, right? It's well, this is how we do things. What do you mean? You wanted this so badly, make it work. The second dream that I've had, which is a newer dream, is there's an apartment. It's really nice. And it's me and my kiddos moving into this apartment. And when I say nice, imagine the place you've always dreamt of, right? Like MTV Cribs, old school. But when we get to the door, there's a key card, and you
Right.
have to go behind the door to get into it, like a slot. Now, this slot it's just big enough to slide into. So if you're someone who's a little thinner, you can get in with no issue. Someone from my size, it's a little snug and I'm sliding in. And then I think about someone who may be of size or, a little, it would be tough where you wouldn't have access to it. And so that for me, as I think about my career, is again that longing, that wanting. that dream thing, whatever level or position you're at, and then all are not welcome or it's a struggle. And it aligns with this idea of fit, right? When we
Yeah.
talk about who fits and who doesn't, who has access, what's the dream on the other side of the door that for whatever reason you have access to or you don't. And I
Yeah.
think those two dreams for me were so prophetic or so telling because how many times are we creating spaces or trying to navigate spaces that feel like the dream or that thing, but maybe we're not giving access to everyone. And what is that about? So the
Yeah.
why I stay, again, possibility, hope, wanting to do different and better and right, because I don't want people to experience the things that I have. And I believe in who we can be. And I think we have to have some real and different conversations. I don't want someone hiding their kid under their desk when they're sick, right? I don't want someone feeling shame for asking some really good and also tough questions. I don't want to be threatened by a team member who's smarter than me, who wants us to do better. And I feel like I have a responsibility as long as I do this work to do my little part to make us different and better. So that's my story.
It was a it was a blessing and a lesson for me. So thank you. There are no coincidences. So just thank you for that. I have so many questions. So many questions. And normally I would probably do these questions in this broad way for viewers and listeners to take some things in. I'm going to take some executive privileges and make the most of this opportunity for myself. When you lay out, I think it was four, maybe it was five factors you shared with this new person as to why you stay. Thinking about the examples you share, because there are also the examples we don't share.
Mm-hmm,
They're the ones that we have seen too many times that become normal, right? We
mm-hmm,
don't even see them as things anymore. This is just what happens when we go somewhere. And by we, and please correct me if it is not in this way, as Black women, I am
mm-hmm,
speaking to. There are certain things, and then there are things that we come to expect and we just deal with, and it takes us years and centuries for us to realize maybe that shouldn't have happened. Then
mm-hmm,
there are the things that, at least for me, I'm actually too embarrassed to talk about. And so I certainly wouldn't get on a podcast and share that that happened to me ever. And I endured it and I continue to come back. Just going to make that plain. Like there are those things that are like, I can't even believe. But I guess my question is when you take that scale out, the ruler, the measuring stick, the factors that, friend, how do you overcome it?
mm,
How do you find in yourself whichever one of the examples it is that you are able to lay it to rest. I got a staff member who often talks about, I put it in my little box because these are the things I have capacity for. Then I have to put things in a little box. And sometimes I can pull them out the box and figure them out. And
mm-hmm.
sometimes I got to live in that box because that's not mine. How do you overcome it or even find a box? Because I find, I don't know if it's age, if it's wisdom, if it's no better, it's getting harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's simply getting harder for me to lead with the list. So, what strategies might you be using that I can borrow one of them? At least I can try today. I'm gonna try it today.
I've tried the stuff it down method, right?
Oof.
Of like leave, you
Yeah,
either leave or you're pushed out, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so, but there's a separation that happens, right? And sometimes that's not also a psychological separation. And so you stuff it down. I remember with that one supervisor, it was pretty traumatic very early on in my career. And I hadn't seen them in like 10, 15 years.
Mm.
And I went to a national conference and I walked past a booth and the profile of this person looked like that supervisor. And I almost had a panic attack.
Oh,
And I went back to my hotel room and I just cried because
oh,
I buried it. I buried it. And And I went back, it wasn't them. But just the very thought of seeing this human again, like complete, I had no physiological control over myself. It was get back to the hotel room and I just lost it, right?
Yeah.
So when I want to offer up something that has been helpful to me, right, is therapy, and a lot of prayer. We cannot
Yes, ma'am.
pretend like we don't cause harm to each other in this field. We got to stop. And we don't get to say whether or not we caused the harm, like someone
Yeah.
was impacted, right? I don't get to
Yeah.
say, no, I didn't harm you. That's kind of not how it works.
Yeah.
So, whatever anchors you, whether that be faith, whether it be a community, a sisterhood, people who remind you of who you are, your worth and
Yeah.
value, you need an anchor. Therapy. I like to do walks like on my phone, like 10,000 steps a day. And
Yeah.
so that walking, even if it's in my living room, like I'll walk in place and put my
Yeah.
my playlist on. That has been helpful. And then sometimes I just hug my kids, right?
Mm.
The 6-year-old is better about it. The 16 and 8, they're like, no, mom, right? And consent is important, right? Even with our
Yeah.
kiddos. Um, or I write. I
Hmm.
wrote my last book and that was so therapeutic because sometimes, writing it can take you to a place, this dream place to just release in some different ways. Now, everything's not for public consumption, right? You got to be
Yes.
really
Hmm.
mindful, because I have
Yeah.
to protect my livelihood. That's another thing
Yeah.
too, Helena, is like I have kids to feed.
Hmm.
And if I say too much, right? I'm impacting my kids and my livelihood. And so you say just enough to heal yourself. And you also find those sacred places to where you can be
Yeah.
open. I had a women's group, Monday night women's group, every Monday for 3.5 years.
Hmm.
They were praying for me. They were praying for me
Mm.
to find either a new supervisor or a new job.
Yeah.
I found both, a new job and a new
Yeah.
supervisor.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So you got to take care of yourself. You have to,
Yeah.
and you have to heal because you just dragging around. You just add to your trauma bag, right? And you have to figure out
Yeah.
how do you heal and release with time.
Yeah. I appreciate that because I think that is something also we care for people so much in so many ways in this work that like we're great caregivers, care providers. We're super thoughtful human beings, actually. We think about it from every angle, every identity. Um, we think about like in your story with the slap behind the wall. I understand you were sharing your dream, but we actually live our lives thinking about can people access things, right? And for me, that's actually not the real world. It's not everybody I know, fortunately or unfortunately, right? Like everybody I know has not had this depth of training to be as broadly considerate. And yet, somehow, I think many of us in this work, higher education, specifically housing, having some type of emergency on call response, forget to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Or, to your point, believe we're fine. As you shared that example of seeing that familiar profile, I was actually reminded of significant incident at campus. And I remember on that day when I needed to respond. Sometimes when I try not to talk, I sit on my hands. It helps me not talk. I don't know why. Something I learned. I sit on my hands, and as long as I know where my hands are, I'm probably not doing all this. But I was sitting there in this very intense situation that was still active, and memories were just coming in of different situations. And I had never experienced that before. But like this, I'm going to call it fear because I feel comfortable in naming I was afraid while working. I was scared. Multiple situations that I had pushed down
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
were just replaying themselves quickly, fast, just over and over again, out of order. It was a very strange thing. I, in fact, have not ever talked about this before, but I just appreciate you even saying we have trauma too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a few years ago, really smart graduate students introducing me to the concept of vicarious trauma. And I
Mm,
am always comfortable to talk about the things I did not know. I get advice from people that's like, oh, don't do that. Make people think you know everything. I'm a learner. I had not heard that language.
hmm.
I could hear from them what they talked about in duty response and I shouldn't have to live like this. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. This is what we do. As I sat in the chair on that day,
Mm,
to your point,
mm.
kept replaying. And like to everybody listening, all my friends, all my former supervisors, because I know y'all tune in to see me, y'all better. Please don't take offense. But not one single day of my career, except for this one right here, has a person said, you're impacted too. Now, I have been a person, I haven't. I have been a person that says, make sure you drink water. In situations like this, you have no idea, but you're going to be dehydrated in the morning. You're going to have a headache if you don't go to sleep. Try to separate it. No, I know you feel like you can come to work, but you got it. You really don't know what's happening. But I don't think I've ever sat with anyone, myself included, to say, you are managing some things that most humans don't even have to have as a part of their life.
Come on.
And I have said things like, no, it's fine because that's not my situation, it's theirs. And I'm just supporting. But you're not wrong. And so I'm going to thank you for that also today, of being able to reflect back like we are living with these stories in our bodies. And so I want to affirm for you, not only is that significant that we have this and the ways we accommodate it so that we can belong.
Yeah.
Um, I want my credit for all of them too. So also, that's not what I was going to say. So yes, thank you for saying. I go back to when I started this as an RA because it's a huge responsibility that student
Yes.
leaders take on to support their peers on journeys in life they may not have yet encountered. And
Yes.
this might be the wisdom they get when it's their turn to encounter it. But also just to name that we can escape our experiences. They live in our bodies, they manifest in our bodies. And so I think when they're met with, gosh, for the good of the order, this is what I take on. And you know what we hear? I come to a point of similarly, why do we keep doing it? Right? I have a
Yeah.
joke with a colleague that says, we saved out the car today. And I mean, for the most part, I like what I do. I love what I do. It's how I choose to change the world. It's wearing on a sister. The last
Yeah.
few years, it is wearing. So I think that takes me to my question. And I gotta hope bring us to close soon, but our question of looking at all the ones here, which one do I want to know? I'm gonna go with this one. I hope I can make the tide. Because I went this way, but I'm gonna bring it back this way. What is it about those good memories or the bucket or the list of the people who believed we were enough? What did they give us that helped us keep going? Like when you think about them, what are like similarly maybe 3 to 4 things that they hope you see enoughness in
Mm,
yourself? I made that word up.
I love it. Enoughness.
Mm-hmm,
So accountability is one.
mm-hmm,
Like just naming and calling it out. I am candid. Don't beat around the bush. Don't sugarcoat stuff. Like I'm not a bee. I don't need honey. Just say the thing. And so accountability is helpful. Compassion, like genuine care. And you feel that, right?
mm-hmm,
Like you feel it in your body
mm-hmm,
if someone is truly being compassionate.
mm-hmm,
I think I'm pretty good with reading where folks are coming from, right? And I have walls up. Trust is important to me. How they hold space for you.
mm-hmm,
I have friends where we might see each other or text every 6 months, but again, hop on the plane for each other. I had one person in my life who, no matter what was going on, if we were in the same state, the same city, we would find each other. It was my mentor. She's held my youngest kid. She's hopped on the plane. One time, I had a job struggling financially. My car got repossessed. I'm gonna name it. Thank God I am good now. We good. I'm in the green. you know.
let me
Um,
just stand with you and say, girl, same.
right.
And if
Like,
it
cause
wasn't
these
for a colleague who cared about me, I'm not
Right,
sure how I would have made it. And they
right,
held it. They held
right,
it for me.
right.
So
Bringing
also
groceries, helping
talk
babysit, like
about it.
the
Talk about it.
community, the village, and you can't let everybody into your gate, right? You gotta have some boundaries. But those are the people where we just do life together and they get it and you don't have to explain or they're, I had my mentor when she supervised me, she's like, Crystal, we're not friends. I'm your supervisor. And that was the best thing she could ever told me. It was so real. And after that supervisory relationship was over with and we were bonding and connecting, I asked her for mentorship and I said, are we friends now? And we laughed. Right. It was beautiful. She has a very senior level position in her institution. I text her. I kid you not. More often than not, she gets back to me within like an hour. Super senior. And I was like, she just makes time for me and my kids and the love. So those are the things I think as you're finding your community, right? Compassion, accountability, and the benefit comes from caring and loving each other, right? And that's the beauty of it. Like I feel like and not making each other feel bad, like and lifting each other up and supporting each other, like cheerleading, right? And having discernment. Don't let everybody like we are so nosy, right? We want to be in
So
every
no,
like like if you get an invitation, that comes with a lot of discernment and me
yeah,
watching you for some time. And then you're in my little circle.
yeah. Really appreciate that. I think about a supervisor that some worky had us fall out as friends. That woman loves me, period. And she helped me be a more polished professional, gave me opportunities to
Come
show
on.
off,
Come
build
on.
my resume. Woo! Y'all gonna get this over 30 minutes today. And um ultimately helped me feed my kid,
Come on.
right? Like
Come on.
ultimately saw something in me that just needed some more cultivation because she could see where I was gonna go.
Yes. Yes.
And I
Yes.
promise you this, there is not a milestone that my kid doesn't hit or a moment I'm proud and don't let him take a cute picture. Oh, I picked that phone up. And though there are very little words between us any longer, I am grateful. And she is still a part of my journey, if nothing else, my kids, because
Come on.
I want her to know like that was working. That was some work stuff. We had to do what we had to do. And you are so right. People can feel when you care for them.
Yes.
And I believe in this work that we do in particular, we give so much of ourselves. And I unfortunately I don't think I've reached a place yet where I can believe that we can do it without giving.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. If I meet a staff member that's not quite doing it, I actually struggle. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as my role to help pull whatever's going on up into the front.
Mm-hmm.
That could be harmful. But when we love, when we care, to your point, we just want to help. It's gonna call upon what I call the superpowers given to us.
Come on.
And again, this is where we have chosen to do it,
Yeah.
wherever the where is in the world. This
Yeah.
is how we have been chosen to do it. I tell people, thousands of people every year, thousands, thousands of people. That's how many people I have the opportunity to indirectly, directly, whichever little word you want to use, impact. And I only believe that it's worth it, that I should stay. When I think about in moments like that, like hit my soul of like, yeah, sometimes you just, the way we see people, we want to believe that our magic didn't make us invisible. That's crazy. I want to activate my superpower to be invisible. I
Yep.
call it Saturdays and Sundays where I am unplugged and only available if it's urgent. But to do that, it's that trust and that love. So I just actually, I really appreciate you. Um, I'm gonna do my outro a little bit different today, and I'm gonna capture our sponsor at the end. The reason we sat down and decided here's the story was a venture we needed to take. Is that we were watching the impact the pandemic had onto folks in higher education, the whole world, but the ones that we know the most happen to work in higher education um, across the spectrum. Across the spectrum. There's nobody exempt. I think all educators, quite frankly, had very interesting impact. Most people, all humans did, and several lives were lost. But we designed this so that there was a place for us to be in community with stories, with wisdom, with lessons, with opportunities, so that we could check out, take 30 minutes for ourselves and get in touch with parts of us or parts of the folks we work with through another outlet. So we could go back
Mm-hmm.
and again, one more day, 2 more days, 2 times harder, sometimes just with this knowledge, or sometimes what at least you've gifted me is that I am not alone. Now I tell you what, I never laid my son down in the office. But if he could not go with me, I'm unsure if I would be talking to you today. But I also was the person who always had their kid. I have grown to love that my kid likes to be with me and still enjoys talking to me at almost 21. And sometimes I just want to go to work. I don't want to also have to be a mama, but I didn't have a choice. And so
Yep.
also like, thank you for figuring out what to do. Thank you for centering your child on that day and taking a risk. Because another thing we don't get is shout outs as moms. So you did the thing you had to do. And thank you for role modeling that if I'm gonna take a risk, it's gonna be for them right there.
Yes. Yes.
Because like I like to tell my son in the words of Jay-Z, um, anything necessary for you.
Yep.
Small cooking stuff, anything. So it's whatever, it's however, because at the end of the day, that is our main thing. And I don't think you said this when we were recording, but we take care of thousands of people every day. We always take care of somebody else's kids. Please don't think we're not going to take care of our own.
Come on.
So, you got anything last to say? Because the next thing I'm gonna do is shout out to our sponsors. So, how would you like to close? Because you have blessed us today.
I just want to say keep hoping and dreaming. And there is a place for you. And as you work to find that place, secure the bag. Put money
Secure
in
the
your
bag.
savings. Put money in your savings. And take care of yourself because there's only one you, and we need you. That's it.
We need you. So, thank you. I'm going to give another shout out to Evolve. I'm putting my glasses on though. I'm a lot closer to 50 than I used to be. Higher education is facing unprecedented challenges. We need courageous leadership now more than ever. And poor leadership has never been more costly. At Evolve Institute, we are empowering new generations with the capacity to turn these challenges into possibilities and lead with and through them. At Evolve, we help leaders develop the capacity to lead with clarity, confidence, and courage. We offer leadership coaching journeys for teams and for individuals. Final shout out is to Nat Ambrosi. Nat hangs out behind the scenes. She makes me look good. She makes me sound good. She's gonna figure out a way to tighten my time up a little bit. But Nat, thank you for all you do and for your silent service. It doesn't go unnoticed. Friends, this has been Here's the Story. I am very much in my feels today and in my feels in a way I just ain't never seen so seen. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Chris Lay, for your time today, for your wisdom, for your stories. We're gonna keep doing this good work because one thing I know for sure about you, I ain't gonna tell all of them. I know when I needed you, I know everybody else does too. So we're gonna keep trying. We're gonna keep at it because somebody out there needs to see us winning. And they too will win. Because all of this winning is going to happen today. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and we will catch you next time on Here's the Story. Oh, one more thing. You want to do a story too? You can go on over to studentaffairsnow.com/ Here's the Story. There is a little form you can fill out. You can reach out to me directly if you find me. We are always here to hear your stories. And as you can see, we all got one. We all need one. And we all out here doing this good work. Have a good day, friends.